West Coast Hotel Company versus Parrish was decided in 1937, and it's famous for two reasons. Number one, it's known as ending the Lochner Era of the U.S. Supreme Court, and number two, it's known as the switch in time that saved nine. Now, a little backstory on that, the switch in time that saved nine. In the 1930s, President Roosevelt was passing a lot of legislation trying to pull us out of the Great Depression that became known as the New Deal legislation. Well, the Supreme Court was striking down his legislation left and right. So he came up with an idea to pack the courts and appoint a lot of politically favorable justices to the U.S. Supreme Court. Well, in West Coast Hotel versus Parrish, Justice Owen Roberts switched his vote. He had been voting to strike down New Deal legislation, and in this case voted to uphold a minimum wage law in Washington State. Now, personally, I have no idea what a minimum wage law in Washington State had to do with Roosevelt's federal New Deal program, but supposedly this switch in time saved nine and derailed his court packing plan because now he had Justice Roberts, in his pocket. But I think that's a cynical way to look at it. What this case expressly did was overrule a prior decision called Atkins v. Children's Hospital. This was a 1923 case that struck down a Washington, D.C. minimum wage law that, as applied to women. Well, in West Coast Hotel versus Parrish, the court said, look, we were wrong. A minimum wage law, as applied to women, is a reasonable exercise of a state's police power to regulate the health, safety, morals, and welfare of its citizens, in this case, women. And if you'll remember Mueller v. Oregon, they also upheld laws as applied to women because they said women were different and women need special protection. And so this case ended the Lochner era.